Hey, welcome to our podcast, A Year of Magical Learning. I think we are up to book 40 today. So, what
Right.
we got, Chris?
Well, it's one of our favorites. When we do our core value quest, it's one of the books that we recommend for our explorers to go.
Mhm.
So one of our shared favorites. So I'll let you introduce it if you want to.
Sure. So, this book is called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And, Chris is a big fan of Darren Hardy. I know Darren Hardy from the book, The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. The next one was this one, which Chris highly recommended. So, I read it. But the basis of this book is essentially the compound effect is in essence that it's an exponential stacking of things you do. It's little things, but because it's exponentially stacking, you can be surprised how much it adds up at the end. So the compound effect will surprise you in terms of the result you're going to get based on little changes that you made.
Yeah, and both good and bad. Like I mean, it can be compounding good and
Yes,
and it
it's
can work both ways. Like if you don't go to the gym every single day and then you decide, well, I'm just gonna eat some more snacks today, and then that compounds on that, and then that
yes,
compounds.
with
Yeah,
chips for 30
right,
days, it's gonna give you like 100 pounds or whatever, just
right.
because, a bag doesn't seem much, but if you add 100 bags, it's gonna be a big number at the end.
Yeah, and then it's the other cascading stuff that happens off of that. So now you're out of shape, you're fat, you're lazy, you're feeling bad about your body, you're not engaging with your wife anymore. She sees changes in you, your relationship starts to fall apart. Then you get a divorce, and then you lose your house, and then you find yourself
Yeah,
struggling.
yeah.
I mean, it's all that because you stopped going to the gym or something like that. And that's the compound can be both ways. Now you're going to the gym every single day, and now you're prioritizing your health and things that you value in your life. And then all of a sudden you find yourself trying to eat a little bit better because you want to get a little bit better while you're at the gym every single day. And then you're meeting new people that are also very active and want to do other stuff. So your social circle is growing around people that care about the same stuff that you care about. And then all of a sudden you find yourself doing a half marathon with somebody. And then all of a sudden you're teaching people at the local high school how to, the cascade that flows, positive
Mhm.
and negative from the compound effect. Pretty amazing. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. The reflection title for this one is The Compound Effect is 100% real. It is 100% real. As a matter of fact, the more that I've read about the compound effect from Darren's book and other different genres and different spirituality dimensions and things like Buddhism or whatever, something along those lines. I mean, it's very much similar to like karma, right? You hear about in the Bhagavad Gita that we'll talk about later on. It's what you put out into this world slowly but surely, the ripple effect that for every action that you do, it has a compounding result, a thin line that connects all of us that we don't know, all those serendipitous things and emotion in the background that you think it's a harmless thing of eating that extra cupcake or something like that. And you never know what that cascading result is, good or bad. So that's really what karma is.
Mhm.
I think the example that Darren gives in the book is if you had the choice between get one penny every single day that doubles or you get $1 million now, like what would you rather take? And, one penny a day doesn't really sound doubling every single day doesn't really sound like a lot. And it isn't. Most people, if you didn't think about it, it's $1 million later. $1 million sounds a lot more feasible to have in your hand right now. But if you add up and you double a penny every single day, I think by like day, what is it, like 27 or something like that, you equal $1
Yeah.
million. And then it like, by the end
Yeah.
of it,
By
it's like,
day 30, you get like $5.3 million.
exactly. So it's the explosion that happens on the back end of these
Uh-huh.
things that is really the power of the compound effect. You don't see it, the changes every single day. But like you said, fast forward 5-10 years down the road, and that's when the
Mhm.
compound effect is really going strong. So my reflection for today is how the compound effect has shaped my own life and how it shaped our life, really. I mean, you and I, like the compound effect has had a big impact on us. I've never personally met Darren before, but about 5 years ago, the company I used to work for was a company called hc1.com. A friend of mine there that I really highly respected, his name was Carson. He was our VP of sales. And he happened to watch these Darren dailies. They're these little email videos, like 5 minutes that he sends out every single day, like a new idea or like a motivational message or new concept that he just wants to talk about. The whole point of Darren Daily is to do it every single day. Start your day off, get an idea. For me personally, these days, I write about it afterwards and write my thoughts, good or bad, whether or not I agree with him. I don't always agree
Mhm.
with Darren, but either way, Darren's become probably the closest mentor that I had, even though I've never met the guy before. I spent every single day with him for the past 5 years. I've maybe missed a handful of times.
Mhm.
Back in this book in particular, talk about the compound effect. So Carson introduces me to Darren, 5 years ago. I watch these things every single day. My daughter happens in March of 2020. And, that was a couple years ago now. While we were in the NICU, my mind was racing things. It was a really tough environment, very stressful, very scary environment. And I was trying to do my best to stay balanced for my daughter so I could show up every single day and try to be the rock that she needs to be and be there to be supportive for her. So I decided to take up the habit of trying to read every single day. I'd already kind of had started this back in the beginning of January of that year, but I wasn't doing it every single day. So while I was sitting next to my daughter, I would bring a book into the NICU and I would set a goal to read 30 minutes every single day and then write in the journal to her for 30 minutes every single day. And then I would try my best at that time to exercise every day if I could find time, but it was a little challenging running back and forth from the NICU and I didn't have my habits kind of locked in then at that point in time. But the whole goal was to stay balanced, right? It was my initial plan around this whole entire thing. The first book that I read was actually The Compound Effect. So, reading to me wasn't second nature. It wasn't something that I did every single day. And at this stage of my life, and, I thought, hey, I'll go to the well where I know a resource very well. And that was Darren Hardy, right? I remember him talking about this book and I was just desperate for anything. So I ordered it on Amazon. It got there a couple of days after my daughter was in the NICU. So I sat down and started reading this every single day. I vividly remember sitting in that chair next to her, listening to her breathe and watching her whole entire life progression. And the first week and a half or so, I was reading this book next to her and, I was really enjoying it. And it's still my happy place, thinking back at the time when I was with my daughter. Unfortunately, as we all know at this point in time, if you've been following along with this journey, my daughter passed away. We lost that battle about 39 days into her life, and it changed everything in my world. I made a vow after that, after we lost her, that she inspired me so much with the way that she lived her life and the values that she projected into this world and her strength and her courage. And, just everything, about Amelia is, what I aspire to be. And she's my tiny little hero, and I wanted to do anything and everything I could to try to honor her. And I knew the best thing that I could think of at that time was to try to keep fighting and endure like she showed me how to do. So, instead of from the day that she died, the next morning I woke up and I was like, I didn't want to move. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything, but I vowed to her that I'm going to do this for her because she was so strong that I can be strong for her. So I still tried to keep that same cadence of, I'm going to go try to read for 30 minutes. I'm going to go try to write for 30 minutes. I'm going to go try to exercise for 30 minutes. I'll fast forward 600 days later, that hasn't 600 plus, probably almost 700 now at this point in time. I've never missed a day of reading, writing, or exercise at that point in time. At the beginning, I didn't know what it was all about. But as time went on, I started to realize this is how I can live for two for her and express our shared values together, and slowly started exploring what this all meant. The compound effect that happened from that particular day then includes True, as we met about 6 months later. That includes starting Clubany, that is multiple different other projects we started. It included winning tennis tournaments. I just did a 5K this morning for a colleague of ours that we lost at work. I ran almost like a 6:30-minute mile on average over the 5K, which 3+ years ago, I hated running. But it's the compounding effect of exercise every single day where I'm like, yeah, I want to do a 5K to honor this guy. And I want to go push myself as well because it was about hustling hard. My life has been changed forever in a positive way that I never would have imagined. And it's been from focusing on my values that Amelia taught me and trying to project those into actions every single day. And all of a sudden, the exponential growth started exploding all over the place. And new things were happening. Writing books, I'm in the middle of writing my second book, it's real. And it's changed my life forever. And it's not, yeah. Anyway, I'll kind of pause there because I know the story of everything that's been going on because you've been living it with me. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on the compound effect in general, and where you think.
Yeah, so for me, I think the compound effect is really super powerful, and I think a lot of people, including me, we don't really understand it, and because it's not something simple. And because, like, for example, you said the compound effect is the genesis of the year of magical learning adventure, right? So
Yeah.
when you start that, the idea of I'm going to start reading, what is it that are you seeing in the end? What happened in 30 days? What happened in 100 days? What happened in 500 days? What goes through your mind when you start out this adventure and leveraging the compound effect to its fullest?
Yeah, that's the thing is you can't ever think about the bigger picture. It's for this whole entire journey about the year of magical learning is about living your values every single day.
Mhm.
I didn't understand that at this time of my life when I was next to my daughter. It wasn't until everything was kind of ripped apart from me and I had to figure out why this. I had to ask a lot of questions and be curious and figure this thing out. Performing actions that helped me to discover my values every single day started to make sense. And it's about living your values every single day is really what the compound effect is about. You don't think about, oh, I'm going to go read 365 books and write 365 reflections. That was never a goal. I don't set goals anymore. The only objective that I have every single day is to try to live my values in
Right,
as much
right.
as I do. So like that's where the compound effect comes in handy. You can't think about the bigger picture. It's just how can you live your
Right.
values each and every single day and go from there?
Right. And so for me, that's why it's elusive. It's because the results are normally the result that you once you see it, it surprises you.
Right.
And so you can't really say, okay, I'm going to start this and I'm going to expect this by the 90th day or whatever the case may be. Because a lot of times it's just the ripple effect that when you do something, it creates that ripple effect. And that ripple effect goes in all directions, not
Yeah.
just the single directions of you, of whatever you're looking at. And so for me, the compound effect, it's real and it's super powerful, but it's also hard to kind of comprehend. And so you probably gonna have to, because a lot of people are gonna not see the tangible results until it hits them in the face and say, well,
Right.
really, I'm an author now, I'm a speaker now, or whatever. How did that happen? Only
Yeah.
then you realize, oh, that's a compound effect. But you can never go the opposite way and say, okay, I'm gonna start doing this today, and one of these days I'm gonna become this author or this speaker or whatever. And to
Right.
me, that's where the elusive part of the compound effect gets you, just because it is unfathomable in terms of how much things can ripple,
Right.
right? And to me, when you talking about double the pennies, the pennies is like something tangible. And for example, when you double the pennies for 30 days, you get $5 million.
Right.
And that's a simplified way of saying this could be one of it, but it's not the whole thing,
Right.
because that isn't just, hey, I'm going to double something. For example, when you read a book, you read a book for every day, the book doesn't double, right? But the ideas and the concept you do does, because
Oh yeah.
you have an idea one, an idea two. Does that make, you doubly valuable or beneficial, or is it a permutations of it? Let's say you have three ideas. How many combinations of ideas can you put together to create new concept, new ideas, new way of looking things, or new business, or whatever the case may be? So that's where we, as a novice, when we look at the compound effect, we get fooled by how much more beneath the layer that this concept is. On the surface, it seems like a very simple concept, but if you keep looking through the inner workings of it, it's actually pretty mysterious in a way. But the
It
result,
is.
for example, every single time I've seen something that is attributed to compound effect, I am truly surprised what the result is, just because I don't think my mind can comprehend. Because if I don't tell you about the pennies, right? You say, well, I'm gonna get 1 penny a day and I double every day for 30 days. All mine thinks it's gonna be a couple $100, because our minds just couldn't comprehend how much faster it grows in terms of 30 days. That's nothing for a
Right.
penny. That's nothing.
Right.
How you get from 1 penny to $5.3 million,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
right?
it is mind blowing, honestly. I mean, two thoughts come to mind when you say this. I don't know if you remember back, like, let's go back to November, December of 2020 timeframe. And so, a year and a half ago, not that long ago, really, a year and a half ago. And I remember you and I talking about, man, we've read like 60 books together. You know what I mean? I felt like I knew more things than I'd ever known in my entire life. And now I look now and I'm like, man, I didn't know shit. And I didn't know shit then either, but I didn't know shit before that. A couple hundred books is way different than 60 books, which will be way different than 1,000 books, which will be way different than 10,000 books by the time that we die or something like that and leave this world. And like now when I'm having conversations with people like these, my brain thinks differently now. I was telling you yesterday,
That's the thing, is we are always surprised by the result, because
right.
what I'm saying is the book we read is linear, but the concept and the ideas and the mental state that we have attained, it is completely like, 100-fold, just because women, it's just that, one of the things that and basically in the beginning, we wouldn't even think that we can do certain things. But now when somebody asks us about any particular subject, whether that's humanities or social or of psychology, we say, well, I know a thing or two about that.
Right.
And we can have our perspectives and whatnot. And that gives you the confidence, right? The confidence you get from able to understand and see from other people's perspectives and angles, and kind of get you a more well-rounded view of a thing that makes you a whole different, totally different person, a better person, right? Don't know everything, but
we don't know anything, but yeah, on the surface, it might seem like that. But I think the more that you know, the more you realize how stupid you are, that you have no idea. I think we've talked about this before. Sometimes it's almost better to be just pure ignorance is truly bliss, where you're like, well, I don't know. This is what I believe, and that's all that I know, and that's fine.
Right. The point I'm trying to say is, whatever that we've done for this past year and a half, it completely make us a new person. I mean, we have changed because for the first, I guess, 20 years of my life or 30 years of my life, things are exactly the same. It never changes. But in a year and a half, I was become a complete new person just because of what you do on a daily basis. 30, 40 years of not having much changes until you start to do something. And in a year and a half, it is totally changed. It changed the way you think. It changed the way you act. It changed the way you behave. Also change the way you because a lot of people, what I've seen is they want to have like peace of mind. Having that mental state is not easy. I mean, people meditate for so long and still don't attain the mental state. But for us, like, we're talking about yesterday or the few days back about the atomic habit, where you embrace the character, and once you understand what you're doing, have that knowledge helps you, whether that's to quit caffeine or to become a writer that you would never in your entire life imagine you become an author, right? And so to me, that's a huge change that we are always surprised by the result. And to me, compound effect is one of those things that is easy to dismiss, but it's the most powerful thing you can implement.
I agree. I think that if there's one takeaway that I could give to anybody that's listening to this conversation, it's align your values around the activities you do each day, and it'll take you to places you've never dreamed of. It all goes back to what we've always talked about this entire journey together is, what do you value most in this world? Go do more of that. Go live that every single day. And not only are you happier, you're enjoying your life, your curiosity is coming back, you're questioning everything. The compound effect is easy because it's easy to do what you love every single day and what you really value. It doesn't feel like work. True.
You and I only take small steps, like 30 minutes, right?
Right.
It's small steps, but it's a giant benefit that you get at the end.
Exactly. I mean, think about you and I, we've met almost every single day for almost 2 years now, whatever it is. It's kind of remarkable. I mean, like half the time I go, what the hell did we talk about for most of those conversations? But I know we were always aligned on what we were trying to do and these things that we keep coming up with. And like, whoever thought we'd be recording a podcast about the 140th book that's on this blog of this year. I mean, if you would have told me that a year and a half ago when we first started, we started to see the compound effect from our own conversations, I would have been like, I have no idea how you get from here to there. Like, right. I mean, there is no logical connection to where we are right now, but it didn't change the fact that we've enjoyed the shit out of everything along the way. And all of a sudden you find yourself doing things that you never dreamed of doing and you enjoy the hell out of it. But it wasn't like this was ever the goal. And it's still not the goal. The goal is us just talking about our values every single day. Like that's it, you know.
Let the compound effect work and don't worry about the I guess the caution I want to voice is that, because compound effect is not something we normally can plan or predict. So you can't say, I'm going to be this or that, I'm going to do this. Because if you do that, you are constraining the compound effect.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So just do little things and just do it consistently every day. And that is going to be the compound effect in action. So let it work for you.
Exactly. Don't fight. It's like the first book, the first reflection, The Alchemist. It's like when you want something, the whole universe conspires to make it happen, right?
Exactly.
Don't worry about want to live your values every single day, and the universe will conspire to turn it into, something magical. And I can promise you. So just we'll leave it at that, I guess, for today. And the challenge for you guys. This wasn't a question for the day. It's a challenge for the day. It's how can you start your own journey today by taking one tiny step towards something that you want? So how can you, do something that you value today and then do it again tomorrow, do it again the next day, do it again the next day and see what happens.
I think that is the elemental steps, which is just find something you can do every day. Tiny, don't have to be big, just a tiny thing, but do it every day. And that is the start of a compound effect.
But, and don't worry about you don't have to get scientific about this either. It's not, Just because one of our values,
and that's what I'm saying is you can't get scientific because
Right.
our brains are not trained to do that. If you do that, you're going to get confused and you're going to limit and constrain yourself in trying to leverage the compound effect. Because that's
exactly.
the reason why I'm keep saying is I'm always surprised by the result, because that's not something we can think ahead of time. Just not possible.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because through reading, I found a value that I love learning every day, right? I didn't start off going, I love learning every day. I knew that I liked learning. I didn't know that was a value. I didn't know my values before this whole journey started. That was what Amelia taught me. That was what I discovered through just picking a task to go do. I discovered I really love learning. Then when I started writing every day, I was like, I really love thinking and reflecting. Like, that's really important to me. The exercise stuff was always important to me, like the tennis and the challenging myself. And those were always values that was probably the only value that I really knew, was to challenge myself. And I always did it through sports and my work as well. But beyond that, I didn't understand my own values. It was through this journey that I started with my values. And now it's easy for me. Now I pick a monthly challenge every single month, like I'm on right now, with the no caffeine challenge. What does this mean? I reflect on it. I go, do I really like this? Like, is this breathing exercise really good? Is this meditation month challenge really good? This year, magical learning was one of the challenges that started off.
Right.
And 6 months later, you and I are.
I mean, when you love something, you continue to do it. If you don't like it, okay, that's not for me.
Exactly.
That's good. But the thing is, with the year of magical learning, you like it. And basically, it has a compound effect on both you and me. Even though I don't write like you do, I'm able to discuss and talk about the ideas and concept that you have put forth. And so even for me, that helps me learn from learning the ideas and having a lot of mental models in my head. These are all the tools I can use. So I become very versatile, and you can become versatile in your own ways. And because of that, you become a person that, I guess, in a way that in my case, it's the person I want to be.
Right.
In because of the environment that makes me who I am versus what I chose. Hey, I want to be a person that is relaxed, that is honest, or whatever attribute I want, because the value that I look into and say, well, what kind of person I want to be, and I be that person and portray that value every day, and that turns me into this person.
And it reminds me of the whole method acting thing that we talked about the other day, of like, you can, through your values and the compound effect, you can method act yourself into being a whole nother person, because you are that other person. I know the compound effect, like you said, it's elusive and it's hard to kind of nail down if you're looking at it from today. But think about all of the compounding effect of your actions of your entire life up to where you are right now. That was 30 plus years, 40 years, whatever it may be, of who you are right now. You were doing the same shit every single day, all day long. It was, you just didn't even know why you did it initially. Eventually, maybe you started to like it a little bit, but that was who you were.
If I do the same thing I do every day for whatever number of years, and I'm going to turn into, an example for me would be, I'm in a job that I don't like. I'm doing things that is not for me. I'm stressed out all the time. By the time I'm 20 or 40 years into it, I have chronic disease because of the stress inducing,
Right.
And I'm bitter person, and I'm always very grumpy, just because that's the thing I do every day. It produces this result.
Right. That
like
was
you
the
said
compound effect
in the
of what you were
beginning.
doing.
It could be both bad, right?
Exactly. That was the unhealthy compound effect of. The sad part is I think it comes from people not even understanding their values, but living their anti-values. Like you said, like, you want to be this person, and everything you were doing every day was an exact opposite person. That disconnect that you feel inside to what you're doing outside turns into a whole lot of problems, right? I mean, that's when people get depressed. That's when people get out of shape. That's when people stop loving their significant other because they don't love themselves anymore. There's so many bad things that can result from having that disconnect of your internal values to your external actions. And we're trying to unite all that in Clubany together, of having that one person understand who they are, what they want to do every single day, and then giving them an ecosystem, a beehive, if you will, to go do that and serendipitously connect with other people that are doing the same thing, right? And then all of a sudden, magic happens. It's like kabloom. We who knows when
it's mind blowing. I mean,
it's
to simplify, compound fact is real and is mind blowing. Just leave it at that, and
we'll keep talking forever about this one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.